Fully Charged Live in Austin, Texas just wrapped up, and the turnout was absolutely incredible. I was so excited to not only be there as a fan, but also as one of the presenters, along with a lot of other familiar YouTube faces. I'll get to that a little bit later though. I had a chance to talk to a bunch of companies that do everything from optimizing how your solar energy is used in your home to battery recycling, as well as some awesome Tesla accessories. But I think people were most excited about things like seeing the Porsche Taycan, the Audi E-tron, Rivian's R1T, Harley Davidson's Livewire, as well as Arcimoto and their FUV. I did manage to get a few minutes alone with a pretty cool company that does EV conversions on classic cars in the Austin area, Moment Motors. I spoke with their founder, Mark Davis, about what they do.
So I'm Mark Davis. I'm the founder of Moment Motor Company here in Austin, Texas, and we convert classic cars into electric vehicles. Right. I think if you think about the process, most people can get their heads around this. What we're really doing is we're replacing the internal combustion engine with an electric motor and putting a battery pack inside the car that allow the car to go where it needs to go. And so the first step of that is we've got to remove the internal combustion engine from the car, and then we can assess the space restrictions that we have and how everything needs to fit in there. And then we also take the original vehicle's performance characteristics into account and what the customer's desired power and range requirements are. So we take all of that together, and then we have kind of a modular motor and battery enclosure system that allows us to choose the right package for that car and for that customer. So really it's based around some kind of fundamental structures that we have here on display. So what we have are the notion of single motors and dual motors. Right. These motors are from a company called NetGain. It's called the Hyper 9. It's got about 175 foot-pounds of torque, 130, 140 horsepower. So it's a very capable motor for a small car. So if you have a Mini or a Bug or even a Carmen Ghia or something like that, that size, smaller, usually import car is a great option for it.
Right.
What we've done though is we've built a set of transmission adapters and motor mount rails that allow us to take that same motor and put it in another car with just swapping out a few components, right? So, and we'll talk about that here. This is a good example of how we can then take one of those motors and pair it up with another motor and double the output that is required. We have a common mounting system here that allows us to swap out the transmission adapter for whichever car we're going into. So this is a BMW Get Drag adapter. Over there is a Chevy small block adapter. In about 15 minutes we can swap them out and we could put this motor in a different car. These rails, although you don't see it, but you can see it over here, are designed to fit a certain chassis mount system. So we can swap these out to make it, mount into the Cobra Ford Mustang chassis over there, or we could swap them out to put it in that BMW over there. The next challenge is where do you put the batteries, right? So I think in modern electric cars, you realize most of the time the batteries are either in the floor or they're in some sort of central, tunnel structure, and they're very integrated into the chassis of the car. That's a very challenging thing to do with a 50-year-old car. You can't really take out the floor of a car and replace it with a bunch of batteries. It's just not practical to do that. One would argue maybe impossible. So our goal then is to fit the batteries in parts of the car where you have space, but also to try to not upset the balance of the vehicle as much as possible. These are small, typically performance cars, and if you don't respect where the weight was originally in the car, you'll really upset the handling, possibly make the car very dangerous, right? So we want to put as much weight in the original engine compartment as it would have as possible, and then we would put the rest of the batteries somewhere else to try to maintain as much of the weight balance in the vehicle.
I hadn't considered that at all, that you have to account for all the weight.
So I'll give you an example, and you can see how we address that, which is in most of our conversions, we're using Tesla Model S modules. So we have to get them out of reclaimed cars. So these are cars that have been in accidents, but the battery pack is still fully functioning. But what we've done, instead of just jamming those modules into different spots, we've developed a modular battery box technology. And this is an example of what we would call a two-box. because there's two Tesla modules in there stacked.
Okay.
But this box can be extended to be a 3, a 4, or a 5, and that allows us to pull together and create a battery pack that maybe lives in 2 or 3 parts of the car where it makes the most sense and there's enough space and it doesn't upset the balance of the car.
Right.
And it gives us that flexibility. So this architecture is very easy for us to assemble and do on a per car basis, and it all stays the same and has the same mounting hardware and mounting structure that we can put into these cars. This here is a 1970 BMW 1602. You can see in the front here there's a 2 module box just like we were looking at there, and then in the trunk of this car there's another 4 modules back here, right?
Wow.
And all of these are this modular approach to the to putting the batteries and the motor in the car. This is the kind of thing that can be removed easily. Everything is self-contained. There's integrated cooling. There's integrated a battery management system inside all of this stuff, and then it's just there's a twist-on connector here that makes sure that everything is all so we can just disconnect the battery management system and pull this box and do, if we needed to do maintenance, or if we were going to replace it with higher capacity batteries, whatever, that is all possible and easy to do from that standpoint.
I can see the charging port.
Yes, we just have the little charge. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the cheeky kind of thing that you could do is, hey, it's right where the original gas tank was.
That's awesome.
On the Porsche, we actually hid it because it was something we were going to do some body work on, and it's just fun to play with the car a little bit. This is, to me, about preserving these cars, and so we really have a first do no harm approach to things. We really want to adapt all of this technology to the car without having to cut it up or make huge modifications to it. We're really trying to create a car that is as if one of these cars were designed to be in this in this world. You get to appreciate them for what they were, drive them like they were, and really just take advantage of modern electric drivetrains. So
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for doing this. It's good to see you.
I was on the How to Have a Fully Charged Home panel, which was hosted by Nikki Gordon Bloomfield from Transport Evolved. And it included some great panelists like the architect Veronica Castro de Barrera, Cameron Freeberg from Austin Energy, Joseph Barletta from Smart Charge America, and Chris Darby from EV Energy. The Fully Charged channel will be releasing a video of that session, so be sure to stay tuned there if you want to see it. I'll also link to it in this video's description once it's live. But one of the many cool things discussed on that panel was around Victoria's push for taking the environment into account when you're designing smarter and more efficient communities and homes.
Thank you for that question. I think, we all would agree that the sun, our relationship of the land and the site to the sun is set. So really what functions you have, a lot of people don't give it much thought, and what we've been able to convince our clients is that, if we really orient this room and the roof lines in this direction, we can harvest the sun. We can then do these investments early.
Related to that, a couple of fans from the channel came up and told me about some interesting developments in the Austin area that I should check out while I was down there. I'd like to thank the Thompsons for telling me about Whisper Valley, which is a new green community that's being built in the Austin area. It's funded by Taurus Investment Holdings here in Boston. Each house will have solar and Google Fiber, as well as being designed from the ground up to be highly efficient homes. This community has received the LEED Gold certification. It's awesome to see homes taking into account their orientation and roof lines to make them great candidates for solar efficiency. And a special thanks to Dan. He suggested checking out the Austin Central Library, which opened in 2017. It's the first LEED Platinum certified building in Austin and is absolutely a gorgeous library. The central atrium isn't just nice to look at, but it provides daylight to 80% of the occupied spaces. It also has lights that automatically dim depending on how much sunlight is making it into the building, which helps to reduce the energy use. I worked in libraries throughout high school and college, so I have a bit of a soft spot for them. As cool as the Boston Library is, Austin's library really feels like the library of the future. As for my talk, I was really surprised at the turnout. I honestly thought the room might be half full at most, but there was standing room only. In fact, it was standing room only for most of the talks that were in there, which is absolutely incredible for the first fully charged live in America. They're definitely going to need a bigger space next year. And if you'd like to see my full talk, I've released that as a separate video and it's linked in the description. The entire weekend was kind of mind-blowing to me. I work in a tiny bubble here in my office, talking to a camera all by myself. I read as many of the comments on my videos as I can, but I can't respond to all of them because there's way too many comments. But having so many of you come over and say hello was kind of eye-opening to me. And putting faces to names from regular viewers I see in the comments all the time, and getting to meet a bunch of patrons and actually have an actual meaningful chat, I'm truly humbled. Thank you to all of you for being so kind and thoughtful when you came over to say hello. And before I close this out, I'd like to give an extra big thank you to the Fully Charged team for inviting me out to the event. Sadly, Robert Llewellyn had to head home early because of a health issue that he had, and I really hope he's okay, but everyone understood and sent him lots of well wishes. Everyone on the team was amazing and pulled off an incredible event for the first Fully Charged Live in the United States. I really hope I get a chance to participate again in the future, but even if I don't, I'll most likely be there as a fan. Now, if you were there, be sure to jump into the comments and let me know what your favorite part of Fully Charged Live was. No, it doesn't have to be one of my talks. And if you think I've earned it, I hope you'll consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. Without that bell, you might miss out on future videos. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and share it with your friends because it really does help support the channel. And as always, an extra big thank you to all of my patrons. I've got a lot of exciting videos in the works, and your support is really helping to make these possible. And also be sure to check out my new podcast with my brother Sean, Still to Be Determined, which you can find on pretty much all the platforms. You can also just go to stilltbd.fm. And as always, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.